When I first heard Shakespeare, I didn't understand it. I didn't get interested in Shakespeare until I actually started saying it out loud. And then it wasn't until maybe 2 years, 3 years in when somebody told me Shakespeare was meant to be seen, meant to be heard, not meant to be read. He wrote plays. He did not write novels.
To suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. To die, to sleep no more. And by a sleep to say we end the heartache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be.
I was brought into a school in Brooklyn, and it was a school that they loved rap, they loved hip hop. They refused to touch Shakespeare. So my goal was really, it wasn't even to teach them, it was to say Shakespeare is interesting. But luckily I was able to do both. Luckily after they were able to understand what he was saying, they got messages out of, the pieces that we were writing. Trust me, I'm from a math background, hip hop background. I dabble in, rap and math. I do not really touch literature. If I can make Shakespeare's story connect to me or make it understandable for me, you're able to do it.
Who would fathers bear to grunt and sweat under a weary life, with that the dread of something after death?
My name is Devon Glover. I teach math, and I also write. I teach through hip hop. I write for a company called Vocabulary that teaches many subjects through hip hop, and I also teach Shakespeare through hip hop. Has anybody ever tried to read Shakespeare?
My cousin made me read it.
Cousin? He wrote 37, 38 plays over 400 years ago, depending on who you ask. He wrote either 37 or 38 plays that has been used in movies, theaters, cartoons, even songs. I'm pretty sure if you haven't seen a Shakespeare or read a Shakespeare play, you've probably seen one. Has anybody seen The Lion King? Did you know The Lion King was based on one of his plays? Have you heard of the play Hamlet? Based on Hamlet. I think sometimes it takes a connection. That's part of the reason why I think people think Shakespeare is unattainable. All it takes is, once you connect to a story. I didn't connect to Othello until I saw a high school version of Othello. And I was like, this makes perfect sense. All I knew about Hamlet was his father got killed by his uncle and he wanted revenge. That was the only thing people told me. The Lion King, it actually brought some interest in it, and it connected even younger students to Shakespeare. So I noticed that, the way his work was presented and the way his work was being transformed, it stood the test of time, and it was a way it connected to me. And I figured if it was able to connect to me, I knew I had a way to connect it to many other people that probably had a closer connection than they thought. Once I put myself in the shoes of the writer, I don't know, it got me more interested in Shakespeare. It made him seem more than a myth and actually a real person. And this is like everyday situations, even though these are, these are love sonnets and, they're for muse. These are everyday situations that people go through. There are times when you're down and out. There are times when there are times where you feel like you have nobody around. I use writing to cope with that. Even though I have so much support in the world, sometimes I feel like I'm in my own bubble, and I use writing to do it. I think Shakespeare used the sonnets to do that.
Say William, Shakespeare, William, Shakespeare. He wrote sonnets and he wrote plays and made a lot of words that we use today. Say William, Shakespeare, William, Shakespeare. He wrote sonnets and he wrote plays and made a lot of words that we use today. There's no writer like
My first experience with Shakespeare that I knew about was in the English honors class. Teacher gave us King Lear, and that was the first time I ever even tried to read Shakespeare. And there were no activities to try to break down Shakespeare. There wasn't No Fish Shakespeare. There wasn't anything to help break down Shakespeare. And since we were in English honors and we were seniors, the teacher, he just gave us assignments. He just said, read Act 1, Scene 1, and come back with your summary. Since we weren't interested in it, we did not know the story, we did not know the history of Shakespeare, We all failed. We all just said, we're not doing this because there was no interest in it.
Would I be gone? Save that to die. I leave my love alone.